Hello world, my name is Andy Silvers and I just hit 100 subscribers. Alright, so my channel just hit 100 subscribers, and I'm very excited about it. So I've got a Q&A video for you here. I know it's a little bit late, but I've been pretty busy with work and with working on novels and such, so I'm apologizing for that, but I have it out as soon as I could. So, like I said, today I'm going to do a Q&A answering questions and help you learn a little bit more about me. First, I want to remind you to check out my latest novel, Red Sprites and Blue Jets, which is available right now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble for as low as $4. It has a 4.9 out of 5 stars on Amazon. It's a wonderful coming-of-age book, and I highly recommend you check it out. Alright, so I was born in a small town called Luga, Russia, and I was adopted when I was 3 years old. I also have 4 adopted siblings who are also from Russia. None of my siblings are from Luga, just me, but they're from a couple of different towns in Russia. For reference, Luga is located just outside the current capital. I was brought to America when I was 3 years old by my adopted parents. I've lived in anywhere from North Carolina, Illinois, South Carolina, Virginia. I've lived in a number of states, largely due to my dad's work at Aflac, moving from state to state. If you want to learn a little bit more about me and my family, please check out the Facebook page Snapshot Film 2020 through 21. Or 2020-21 if you want to learn more. That Facebook page is the official page for my award-winning short film, Snapshot. I really love shrimp Alfredo. That's probably my single favorite meal, particularly to get at Red Lobster. But I also love Chinese food. I love fried rice and beef with a little bit of egg in it and no vegetables. I'm just not a vegetable person. So those 2 meals are my favorite. But I also love salmon. I like fish. I like shrimp. I like salmon. I love chicken. I love Bojangles and Zaxby's and most places that have good quality chicken. And I like Diet Coke and Diet Pepsi. I'm a big Diet Coke person. I probably shouldn't be for the aspartame and food coloring, but I have to learn to wean myself off of it at some point. I just haven't done that yet. My favorite TV show is probably Burn Notice, which is a USA show that ended in 2013, I believe. It's a really great show. It's a spy sort of action show with a lot of comedy in it, starring Jeffrey Donovan and Gabrielle Anwar and some other people, Bruce Campbell. It's a really, really fun show. It's really exciting. If you haven't seen it, I recommend checking out Burn Notice. It's available on Amazon Prime for free, included with your membership, so I would advise checking that out. I also like The Grand Tour and Top Gear. I love cars. I'm not a car expert, but I do like cars, and so I like watching Top Gear and The Grand Tour. Let's see here. I like Sherlock, which is a BBC show that has 4 seasons. It's got Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman. It's a really fun and really exciting show. And then as far as movies, I love Terminator 2. It's probably one of my favorite films of all time. I love action films that have a lot of interesting characters, like Mad Max Fury Road. I love Mission Impossible Fallout, Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. And I like other kinds of films, like Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which is a 2019 film. And I actually like The Devil Wears Prada. I would argue that that's a business film, a film about business that just so happens to involve women. And I think that makes it really unique and interesting in the space. So that's also based on a book. So I would recommend checking out The Devil Wears Prada and any of the other movies that I have mentioned. I would say the Warrior series. I think it's the Keeper series as well. I read those back when I was young, and I also read The Westing Game, which was a really fun book. I read a lot of books back in my school years that I really have grown to love and appreciate today. I've always been good with English. I was always several sort of grade levels ahead of most of the class. But I didn't start writing stories, as far as I can remember, until something called Terra Manera, which is a bit like Amelia Bedelia, basically. It's a series of little short stories that I wrote and stapled together, and these stories sort of go through the misadventures of a young girl. I think she's 9 years old, named Terra Manera, and she just gets involved in a bunch of shenanigans. And I think I ended up printing about 20 to 25 of these short stories, and I mean, they're pretty short. They're probably 10 pages or less, 8.5 by 11 printer paper. Um, I was allowed to use a lot of printer paper back in the day, and now I don't do that. I have books professionally published. And then more recently, I created an adoption book, a very short book about adoption, which is not available for sale because it's awful. But I did that for high school, and that book helped me learn the publishing and writing process, and I really enjoyed it. And so, like a few years later, I created the Camera Sensor book, which is my first book. It's not a novel, but it is a nonfiction book, and that was my first real foray into self-publishing. I love technology and writing and filmmaking. So, with regard to technology, I like channels like Linus Tech Tips, and I learned a lot about photography and imaging from Tony and Chelsea Northrup, the photographers and YouTubers here on the platform. I learned a lot from them. As far as writing, I learned quite a bit from Jenna Moresi, who's a fellow booktuber, author tuber on the platform. She's taught me a lot about the publishing industry, and I've also learned a lot about writing from her, but I've also learned a lot about writing from channels that actually talk about film. And I've learned a lot about the film industry from Beyond the Trailer, Grace Randolph, her channel. I've learned a lot about producing films and the box office. Like, I'm pretty much a box office expert. I can just name off a movie and how much money it made worldwide pretty easily. I'm pretty astute when it comes to the box office. So the very next thing that I'm doing is putting out Solomon Grando. I'm gonna get that published. It will be available at this later this year, probably in the fall, but maybe a bit sooner. And I'm working on the sequel to Solomon Grando as well. I'm not going to reveal the title for that yet, but I'm working on the sequel. I'm in the outlining phase. And then I also have a number of books that I've planned to write. One is about a photographer who basically meets up with this woman who's going through a divorce, and so they sort of fall in love and they bond through their shared love of photography and whatnot. And then another one is about a mind reader who is brought in by the government to help solve crimes. But obviously things go a little awry because he can't always be trusted. And then I have a book that I want to write eventually, which I predict to be my magnum opus, which is called Weapons of the Gods, which is basically a modern day book that involves a lot of Greek mythology and how that sort of interacts with the real world and interacts with our world, and how there's basically a war and there's this family of gods basically who are caught right in the middle of it. So that's something I want to do. So I have a number of novels planned for the future, and I wouldn't mind getting back into nonfiction as well. If I did that, I'd probably talk about cameras and filmmaking, I imagine. So I'd have to just keep an open mind and see what inspires me. Speaking of writing, my new contemporary fantasy novel, Solomon Grando versus the Jupiter Witch, should be coming out this fall. It's an exciting book about a vampire who has to team up with a sneaky teenager to save the world from a virus. So it's a very timely story. It's got action, comedy, it's got some inappropriate humor for the adults. It is an adult novel, so just be aware of that. It's not like Red Sprites, which is for children. Currently, I'm in the beta reader process, and I plan to do a video discussing the beta reader process and how I did it and how it went. So far, it's going pretty well. Basically, I've gotten some feedback already, and I'm going to make some changes and update the novel so I can make it the best it can possibly be. Thank you so much for all of you that subscribed. I appreciate it so much. As of right now, I'm at 103 subscribers, which is incredibly exciting. Thank you so much. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. I post videos about the writing industry, the publishing industry, filmmaking, and the HP ZBook laptop, which is what I'm using right now because I love technology and I just can't help it. So please hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.